So I meet the great man for the first time, and he was incredible figure, Shanks. That he was stocky, short hair. The coat was always open, and he was a real caricature of James Cagney. And there's an aura about Shankly that was that whenever he walked into a room, he had this presence, and everybody would immediately, be taken by this man who walked in the room. And that's what struck me about him at first. And he said, "Hello, son, and we'd like you to come to Liverpool." Now, Liverpool were in the second division, so I knew nothing about Liverpool. Everton were the big club down in Merseyside, but I knew nothing about Liverpool. And to tell you the truth, I didn't even know anything about Bill Shankly. And I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute, Newcastle are a big first division club, Liverpool are a second division club. But our manager, for some reason, he must have known about Charlie Mitten, and he said to me, "I'll tell you something," he said, "you're not going to Newcastle." So yeah, I was terrified there. I thought, man, how did he know that? But you don't know as a kid that everybody knows everything that's going on in the game. So Shankly said, "I'll come and see you tomorrow morning, we'll meet here at the club." So fine. So I just lived a walk from there, where the club had given me a house, a little tenement house, charging me 12 and 6 an old money a week in rent, which I thought was a bit strong. So the next morning, I turned up at the club, and he said, "Right, we'll go to Liverpool." He says, "I've agreed the fee, £37,500 for the club." He said, "We'll get in the car and go to Liverpool." And I said, "Well, hang on a minute." I said, "I've got my your wife will come with you." I said, "Well, but the bairn." I said, "We've got, take her to your mother-in-law's." So we all get in the car. I had a big dog, I had a big boxer dog as well, so I had to go to my mother-in-law's as well. So the baby and the dog, we pitch up in this housing estate in Bells Hill, which is the home of Matt Busby, by the way. We pull up there, and out we go. Everybody's looking at this Rolls Royce. Nobody had ever seen a car in there, never mind a Rolls Royce. So we deposit the baby and the dog, and we head for Liverpool. And we're sitting in the back, my wife and I and Shanks, and he was telling me stories about Liverpool, about how great a team they were, and how they were going to win everything, and how fantastic, and and I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute, they're a second division team, and he's telling me, they're the greatest team ever. So he had me convinced. By the time we got to Anfield, we go in, and Anfield was an old stadium then. It really was dilapidated old place, but we walk in, and it was the April, the end of the football season. It was just winding up. We go into the director's room, and I always remember it was a big fireplace, and fires on. And the first person I meet in there was Ruben Bennett, who had been my trainer at Motherwell when I was a kid at Motherwell. In my early days, Ruben had been our trainer there, had moved on, had gone to Liverpool under Shanks as a trainer there. So, I loved Ruben, he was just a great man. So seeing him, the friendly face in there again, that was it. So I've got Ruben there, Shanks, we signed the forms, and that was it. He said, "Stay down because we've a local cup tie to play with Everton." It was the Liverpool Senior Cup. So I just played against Hamilton Accies up in Scotland, and there's local cup up there, Lanarkshire Cup, in front of a crowd maybe of 10,000 or whatever. So I'm thinking it's a similar type of thing. So I go down training with the team. I'm in a hotel in town, go down training when I meet them for the first time, all the lads, and do a wee bit of training, whatever. And then it's the game the following day. I don't understand what's going on, but there's 60-odd thousand at Goodison Park. And, it was just like a cup final. You're going into this stadium. It's a lovely big stadium, Goodison, packed, 60-odd thousand, for a local cup tie, Liverpool Senior Cup. And I didn't understand anything about the fervour of Merseyside. I didn't know about, how deeply the fans felt of either side about their team. And the fact that they had signed a player for a lot of money was a record buy for Liverpool. So everybody's there to see me, all the Liverpool fans there to see me. And everything just went, I couldn't have written the script better. I scored a hat-trick in the game. Not the greatest goals in the world. One of them hit the post and I just knocked it in. Another one, I got a header, which was not a bad goal, and I knocked another one in. So I got 3 goals, but we lost 4-3. But people told me after, all my mates who eventually knew in Liverpool said after, they all came out of the stadium, the Liverpool fans, elated that they had signed a player who scored a hat-trick against Everton, and they were looking forward to the next season under Bill Shankly with great expectations. And in the close season, the boys went up to Scotland and signed Ronnie Yates, my big pal from my boys' club, Scotland Boys Club days. And Ronnie had just come out of the army, played for Dundee United, brought him down, and we start the season in the second division, and we won our first game down at Bristol Rovers, and we never looked back. We had 12 wins on the bat, and we led the league from start to finish and won the league, and that got us into the first division, and then it all just started from there. Having reached the first division, obviously it is a different ball game because the quality of the players you're playing against, the better teams in general, were a lot stronger, and the boss had to look at our side and decide the players he felt were good enough to play in the first division. And obviously some of them fell by the wayside, some of the lads that had got us in. Bert Slater, the goalkeeper, who was a great little goalkeeper, Bert, Scots boy, brave as a lion. Shanks used to say he could dive in front of a bus. but he got too small. We lost a goal one day on the top corner, and even a big goalkeeper might not have got it, but in Shanks' mind, Bert was too small. So there was a goalkeeping change getting made there. A couple of the fullbacks went by the wayside. Jerry Byrne started getting regular games, who had been at the club. And funnily enough about Jerry Byrne, seemingly the previous managers were going to let Jerry go. And thankfully Shanks, when he arrived, kept a hold of Jerry. A local boy, and was a great player, Jerry Byrne. Hardest man ever that I ever played with. He was just incredible fella, Jerry. Quiet boy off the field and on the field, but hard. There was nobody harder than him. Chrissy Lawler, as a young lad, started getting a few games in the team, and they became the fullback partnerships with Big Ronnie at centre half, holding them all together. But we had two good wing halves with Gordon Milne, who ended up getting games for England and became an England international. And then Shanks went and bought Billy Stevenson, who was a boy that played with the Glasgow Rangers and was a very good player, but Jim Baxter had taken Billy's position with Rangers, and Billy had gone off to Australia, decided to pack it in and went to Australia. And Shanks, for some reason, I don't know how he knew about that, but persuaded Billy to come back from Australia and join us. And he was a great player, Billy, because he could pass the ball with either foot, great long passer of the ball. Again, a player with no great pace, very like Baxter in a way, only with a longer range of passing than Baxter. But he couldn't tackle, couldn't run around the field, but could play. A great passer of the ball. And then the boss went away and got Peter Thompson, who played for Preston North End. And Peter Thompson became one of the great left wingers of English football, and was a member of the '66 World Cup squad, and a great entertainer. Peter Thompson had more tricks than a conjurer. And Shanks used to say to us, if you get tired, boys, give it to Peter and take a rest. And Peter could dribble round 2 and 3 guys. I mean, he was an incredible player and very, very skillful. On the other side of the field, we had Ian Callaghan, who had been at the club since he left school, starting to get games in the team. Great little player, Callie. Just a great runner, and would just be very, very direct, very straightforward. You would give it to him, he would run, and he would cross it. So from the right-hand side of the field, we'd a running, crossing winger. On the left-hand side of the field, we had an entertainer, a great dribbler. So it was a nice blend. And then alongside me was Roger Hunt, who was a great, great goal scorer. And I was so delighted when Roger got in the England team and won the World Cup, because he deserved everything. He was a model professional, just a lovely fella, and in my opinion, a great player. Scored great goals, record number of league goals for Liverpool, and he was phenomenal. Great guy to play with. Honest as the day is long, would never duck out of anything, would always run, look for the ball off you, would never ever hide. Great player. So that team then started to mould together in the first year we got in the first division, and we were finding our way a bit. We ended up, I think, around maybe mid-table, but we had a great cup run, and we got to the semi-final of the cup to be played at Hillsborough against Leicester City. Now Leicester had a good team then. Frank McClintock played with them, little David Gibson, Banksy in goal, and in this particular match we murdered them. we battered them. And Banksy, I mean, proved that day he was going to be the best goalkeeper in the world. He just defied us. He kept us out. And it didn't matter what we did. We just couldn't get the ball past them. And they scored from a ball knocked in, and big Stringfellow, big winger, big tall winger they had, nods one down. Tommy Lawrence was in goal for us. Bounced into the corner, 1-0, and we lost it. And that was my first big disappointment at Liverpool, because from I went there, it had all been a big high. You know, the promotion, the whole thing, it was all just bubbling lovely. And that was our first big disappointment. We never got to Wembley. And at that particular point, Liverpool had never won the cup. So, again, the fans let down. They thought this was going to be the year we'd get to Wembley and win it. And we would have played against Manchester United, who went on to win it. After the disappointment of not getting to Wembley, the following year, Shankly set his stall out to win the championship. And we were all now getting very close as a team. We all knew each other's style of play. And the training that Liverpool had was just terrific. Though Shankly was the first player, certainly I'd ever met in football, who believed that everything should be done with the ball. And it was a pleasure to go to the training ground, and there was bags of balls there, and everything was geared towards doing your work with the ball. And, you know, there was plenty of dribbling, plenty of shooting. We had little boards. He had built boards up, some full-size goal boards, some half boards, and we used to do a lot of the work on these boards. And we had what they called the sweat box. It was a square where it had 4 big goals, wooden goals, and you got in the middle of that square, and it was kicking and volleying, and we did various little training routines in there, and it was just great. It was wonderful to go to training and know that it was all going to be enjoyable stuff. That hard work, of course, but the ball was always there. There's a carrot, and you always worked harder because the ball was there. And all the training with the ball, all the work we did, we became a very, very close-knit unit, and that showed itself on the field on a Saturday. And we then, in that particular year, the 63-64 season, we went on and won the league. And how we won it was amazing. That come the Easter time, which people in football will say that's the time the league's won and lost, we had a very stiff programme. We had to go to places like Leicester. We didn't like Leicester too much after them having beaten us in the semi-final of the cup. We had to go to Leicester. We had a game against Manchester United. We had to go to Burnley. We had to go to Tottenham. There was a lot of tough games in this particular run-in that we had, but we went bang, 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 and we won them all. We won them right through to the end of the season, and came from sort of sitting in the pack, maybe about 4th in the league, to winning all the games in the run-in and winning the league. And it was just absolutely fantastic. The crowds at Liverpool, of course, at that time were just fantastic. The Kop was a different class. It was just chock-a-block every week. But they were then singing and chanting. They were the leaders and all this sort of stuff. And it was just a fun place to be, Liverpool, at that time, because if you think about all the music industry coming out of Liverpool at the time, with the Beatles and, you know, all the groups that were making a name for themselves, the Liverpool sound, it was a very vibrant place, and I think the football club reflected that as well. And to be champions that year and was just wonderful. So we went from there, obviously, into Europe for the first time. And that was the start of Liverpool's reign in Europe, which ran through every year, right up until the Heysel disaster. And as we know then, the clubs were pulled out of Europe. But Liverpool had a continuous run, uninterrupted run right through in European football. And no other club has ever done that. And I don't think any other club will ever do it. It was incredible. But they were great times, because they were pioneering times. We didn't know what we were getting into in European football. And the first game we got an easy draw. We drew Reykjavik. Now, I had, at that time, an appendix problem. I'd been on holiday in Mallorca with my family, and I'd swallowed a stone, must have been like fruit stone of some sort and had lodged down in my appendix, and I'm at home and I'm feeling ill. And through the night I got up and I'm feeling ill again, and ended up I collapsed. And the Sunday morning I'm lying collapsed, and my wife panics, phones the doctor and phones Shanks. So the two of them arrive almost at the same time. Shanks and Reuben come up, and the doctor. So the doctor said, "Quick, you get him to the hospital." So Shanks said to the doctor, he said, "You can't take him away and leave me with a team of boys," he said. So the poor wee doctors go, "Well, he's got to go, it's an emergency." So they whipped me into hospital, and I had peritonitis. And really, they said to me after, I was quite lucky because I could easily have snuffed it. But they got the stone that was stuck in my appendix. And I was in hospital for a few weeks, and I missed the start of the pre-season training and the early games of the season through this appendicitis. So I missed the first ever trip up to Reykjavik in Europe. But there's a good story that Big Ronnie told me. He said when they'd flown up to Glasgow to pick up a flight from Glasgow. Now, as I said, they were pioneering days that later on Liverpool learned all the mistakes of the early years in European football and travel and all the other things all the mistakes that were made in the early years. Where now, if they were playing up in Reykjavik, they'd have their own plane and they would just fly up in their own chartered plane or whatever. But this particular time, we flew Liverpool, Glasgow, and then had to wait and get a flight from there up to Reykjavik. So when they arrive in Glasgow, they've got a few hours to kill. So the boss thought, "Oh, we'll go down. I'll take the lads down to Butlins and Ayr, past the time." So they all get out of coach and they head off to Butlins and Ayr, which is outside Glasgow, maybe an hour or so. So Shanks is saying, "Oh, it's great down here, in Butlins. I used to go on my holidays here and all this." So they get to the gate of Butlins, and there's a little fella there, and he's got the cap on, whatever, and the coat, and he hold it. So Shanks, "Leave this to me, boys." So he goes to the front of the bus and he said, "Hello," he said, "Bill Shankly, Liverpool Football Club. We're on our way to Reykjavik." And the guy says, "Well, you must have took the wrong turn, this is Butlins." So the lads are all like rolling laughing. But anyway, they go to Reykjavik, they win the game handsomely, come back, and I was fit for the second game. So I made my debut in the second game against Reykjavik, which again we won, looking round really. So it was a nice, easy way into Europe. But our second game was against Anderlecht, the Belgian champions, and they were a cracking team. They had about half a dozen players playing the national team who had got a draw with England at Wembley only a week or so before we were to play them. And Shanks had seen them at Wembley in this game, and he realised that we were up against it because they were some team. But as we were preparing for it, Shanks decided to have a little change in the kit, and he got these red shorts. So he said to Big Ronnie, "Ronnie, try these on, the jersey and the shorts, model them." He says, so Ronnie put them on, and Shanks says, "Oh, Ronnie, it makes you Colossus and all this, He says, "Look at the size of you," he said, "you're intimidating." So I said, "Why don't we go to whole hog, boss, and go red socks as well?" "You think so?" Aye. So he got red socks, and Ronnie modelled the whole kit, and he said, "That is it." He said, "You look fearsome." So that was us playing for the first time ever in all red against Anderlecht in the European Cup. And in the afternoon of the game, we'd gone out of Liverpool to a hotel to rest up, and we were sitting, Shanks and Big Ronnie and I, and he would confide in us, with Ronnie being the captain, of course, and I would just be like sitting there, his earwigging. But he said, "I'm thinking of playing Tommy Smith for the first time." Tommy had been in, had one or two games, but he was thinking of bringing him into the team. So we both said, "Well, one thing for Tommy, he'll not let us down. He's a great kid, and I don't think he'll let us down." Shanks, "Well, it's a big game, And anyway, we chewed it over for a bit, and the decision was that Tommy would play, and he would play alongside Ronnie. And Tommy had a great game, and that was Tommy Smith in the team then for the next 15 years or whatever. Tommy was a great player for Liverpool. He was never a boy. He was always a man, Tommy. I think Tommy shaved when he was about 12. But he was such a powerful figure and a good player in the sense that he had good feet, Tommy. Very tidy feet, could, move the ball around, pass the ball, good football brain. I mean, the reputation he got was as a hard man, which is fine. I mean, Tommy used that to intimidate people, but to be fair to Tommy, he was also a very good player and a smashing lad as well. And it was great for us then to have Ronnie Yates, Tommy Smith, and Jerry Byrne as our defence, and Chrissy Lawler, who was just a nice big quiet fella, but a great attacking fullback. And Tommy used to do all the talking for both of them on the field. So we didn't mind Jerry being a quiet lad. And I remember Mike Summerby saying to me, he said, you line up against Liverpool, he said, and you look at them, he said, Smith, Yates, he said, and Jerry Byrne, and you think, oh, it's like a prisoner seeing the gates closing on him. He said, how you go past them? The game against Anderlecht was a great occasion. First big team ever to play there in an important game in Europe. And we played out our skins that night and we won 3-0. And Roger, as usual, getting us a goal, of course. And it was just a great occasion. And we went over there to play the second leg, 3 goals up. You would think, well, that'll be it. And we got put through them instant. They never gave us a look at the ball. They were knocking it around. They were playing most incredible football. And I'm playing centre forward. I'm up the field, as it were, and I'm looking back at them. And I can see it vividly. All I can see is Ronnie Yates heading the ball away, tackling. Tommy Smith there. Tommy Lawrence in goal, who had a wonderful game that night. Tommy's diving around all over the place, saving it with his heels and his head and everything. And we're surviving. And then, as football being the game it is, we break away in the second half. Bang, bang, Roger gets through, sticks it in the net, and we won 1-0. Now, if I had been one of the Anderlecht players, I would probably have been slitting my wrists after it, because they just pulverised Liverpool and got beaten 1-0. But that was us through, and we progressed then up to the semi-finals. We played Cologne, and it was the time of the tossing the coin, the famous toss the coin. That we'd played 2 games, and it's not like today's football where I would have gone into a penalty shootout. We had played the 2 games, we'd drawn, and we played the 3rd game, and we were still all level. And the referee said, right, toss the coin. So Ron Yates to go up with their captain, and they tossed the coin, and it was a disc that had a white side and a red side. So Ronnie, of course, took the red side. Up it went, and it came down. I couldn't see. I could not watch. I was away looking into the crowd to see what reaction you could get from the crowd. I couldn't watch it. I was too nervous. And Ronnie said it came down and it stuck straight up in the air. So he had to pick it up again, the ref, and tossed it again, and it came down red side up. So we are through. An incredible way to go through, really, in the toss of a coin. The draw for the semi-final of the European Cup then paired us with Inter Milan, who at that time were probably the best team in Europe. They had just a terrific squad of players from various countries. So they turned up to play the first leg at Anfield, and we had the cup final on the Saturday, which I can discuss at another time. So we were on a big high from the cup final, and we had Jerry Byrne and Gordon Milne, who didn't play. Gordon didn't play in the final, and Jerry had broken his collarbone, and they parade the FA Cup round the ground. Now, the place is just going potty. The gates, I think, had been shut since about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they came out, the Milan team, and I mean, they looked the business, and those jerseys they've got look terrific, strong looking kit they had, and we play. The game commenced, and we got off to a flyer. Roger Hunt, Mr. Dependable, ball gets played into the box, and Roger volleys. It was all a beautiful volley, sweet as a nut, and knocked it in, so we go 1-up. Then we get a free kick, and we score a goal off the free kick. Ian Callaghan ran over the ball, got it played into the box, played square, and Cally scored. I mean, we were hopeless, to tell you the truth. At free kicks, we never worked a free kick in our lives. Everything was a shambles. Whenever we get free kicks, Shacks used to say, oh, they've got the card school out again. We'd all get round the ball and all have a chat, and I'll do this. No, I'll do this. No, you do that. And nobody would do anything and usually make a mess of it. Then they break away, and from the halfway line, a bit of a mistake by Big Ronnie, who, again, didn't make too many mistakes, but made a bit of a mistake. They got clear, played it into the box, and bang, clinical finish, as you would expect from players of that quality. So 2-1 into the second half, and again we were putting the pressure on them, and the Cobb was swaying, we were shooting in at the Cobb end. Roger gets in the box, hits one, the keeper parries it, and I followed in, and it was one of those great moments where you think, I cannot miss this one, and bang, just knock it in. Very simple, but just knocked it past the keeper, and we all go mad. 3-1 up, and we thought, well, that should be it. We should win this cup now and get to the final. And we went to Italy, and when you go to an Italian city to try and win a football match, believe me, there is an awful lot of intimidation, and it first hits you when you get to the airport. They've got all their fans waiting outside. They were alleging that we had been drugged. The fact that we managed to beat them, can you believe it? We were supposed to be drugged. We were drugged, all right. We were on a high from Wembley. That was the only drug we were on. But the fans were all there intimidating us, and we got to the hotel. We stayed out at Lake Como, which is lovely. But of course, the Italian fans knew we were there, and there was an all-night vigil of cars going round the hotel, honking the horns and the whole bit, trying to disrupt us. So we stayed there for a day, maybe 2 days, and then we went into Rome, and we went to a hotel to have a rest before we got to the stadium. And I don't know if they plan these things or who plans them, but there's a gang outside working on the roads with pneumatic drills, and the noise was incredible right below where we were in these rooms. So you couldn't even get asleep. Ronnie and I were sharing a room, and we just couldn't sleep for all the noise from the road gang outside. Then we get to the stadium, or we get towards the stadium, and again it is pandemonium. I mean, the traffic, you wouldn't believe it, and they're banging on the coach, and they're throwing things at the coach windows. We got to the stadium, we go in, we get out onto the pitch to play, and the firecrackers are going, smoke everywhere at the San Siro. And I mean, it is the most intimidating atmosphere that I've ever played in my life. And it really does unnerve you. I don't care how much experience you've got, it is an unnerving experience. But we start the game, and we are not to know it at the time, but the referee, who was a Spaniard, had been bribed. And it was proven later on that that had been the case. He had been bribed. And he wouldn't give us anything. I mean, we couldn't get a throw in, we couldn't get a foul, we couldn't get hold of the ball. He kept giving them everything, which meant that you were just constantly on the defence. And they get a free kick on the edge of the box for nothing. Billy Stevenson was allegedly fouled the player, but it was no foul, but he gave an indirect free kick. And Corso bent the ball round the wall and scored direct. Now, the referee who'd given the indirect free kick gave the goal. Winner. So, again, we're playing. Tommy Lawrence got the ball, and he's bouncing the ball as he's coming out with it, as goalkeepers did in those days. And somebody came up behind him and flicked the ball out not out his hand actually, but flicked the ball as he's bouncing it. Now, again, if that had been us doing that to their goalkeeper, there would have been a riot, because you're just not allowed to put your feet up anywhere near a goalkeeper. But anyway, flicked the ball away out of Tommy's possession and knocked it in the net, 2-0. Then in the second half, they got a very good goal. Big Facchetti, the right back, who was a class player, came through and played a lovely little 1-2 and went through and scored. And that was a great goal. We had no complaints about that. And 3-0. And that was it. We were out on goal difference. And it was really the biggest disappointment in my whole football career, because I did feel at that particular point in time that Liverpool team were the best team in Europe, and I think we would have gone on to beat Benfica in the final. As it happened, Milan went on and won it, but I think we could have gone on and won that cup, and we didn't get out of European football, I think, what we deserved, and we should have given Shanks a European trophy. We should have been the first British team to win the European Cup. As it happened, Celtic went on to win it in 1967, and then Manchester United won it, the first English team to win it in 68. But I do feel that we let the boys down a little bit in that one, and we were very naive. But having said that, when you're playing against a bent referee, it is very difficult to win the game.
That's it. Please change tapes now for more from Ian St John.